Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
And I'm Sean Hughes-Clem. Welcome to this edition of Reel to Reel. Though it may seem as if we're in the country, we're actually on Belmont Plateau in Fairmount Park, with Center City just a few miles away.
All of which goes to say, looks can be deceiving. And that's what we'll see tonight. When we travel to Jamaica to see another side of that tourist mecca.
And to Massachusetts, where we'll meet some motorcyclists who may or may not be your idea of a typical biker.
In the short subjects, critic Liz Andre will tell us about the world according to Garp. And we'll meet a man who has a poem of liberty. Last week, we met Ferdinand Mahfoud, who works for the poor on the island of Jamaica. Tonight, we're going to return there for the rest of his story.
Jamaica, the land of wood and water. It is majestic, romantic, beautiful. But like other countries, it also has its problems, among them poverty. Ferdinand Mahfoud is trying to battle this problem through his organization, Food for the Poor. Ferdy distributes clothing, food, and other supplies to the needy through several Jamaican priests. He helps Jamaica's needy in a lasting manner, a way that treats the roots of the problem, not simply the symptoms.
There's really nothing more sacred than bringing up children. And there's really nothing more sinful than the way children are actually being brought up here in Jamaica.
Nearly 80% of the youngsters in Jamaica grow up with neither parent. This lack of a solid, secure family life breeds a number of problems for the island. Father Paul Walsh directs St. Anthony's Children's Home. Supported in part by Food for the Poor, Father Walsh is attempting to make a positive influence on the lives of these children and the generations to follow.
When we see such a gigantic, huge problem, we are tempted to do nothing, right? So what I am doing is what I'm able to do. But I don't want to do it in a way that is not fundamental and in a way that will not last. I want to do it in such a way that I tackle the basic problem of the Jamaican community, the Jamaican situation. And the basic problem is poor family life. That's the basic, eternal problem, as I see it.
St. Anthony's Children's Home offers a family life to the orphaned and abandoned youngsters who find their way here. The 17 children are not legally adopted. Father Walsh has actually adopted them. He feeds, clothes, and shelters the kids. And there is, of course, another aspect of parenting that Father Paul and his associates emphasize.
To me, the most important part of the home is the psychological, religious part of it, you know. I give them love, Percy gives them love. That is something that they maybe never experienced before. And I always make sure that the discipline is in that love context. These children are not simply being fed because they're hungry or clothed because they're naked. These children are being brought up in an atmosphere that has as its purpose to make them good, moral human beings and productive citizens. They're not allowed to think in negative terms here because day in and day out they are taught that they have to work, that they have to be responsible.
The children help Father Paul with his wholesale seafood business, through which he supports the home. With the help of Winston, one of Father's former wards, the children cultivate their own produce on the property. St. Anthony's also depends on regular financial assistance from Ferdy, who gains a great deal more from the relationship than the simple satisfaction of feeding some hungry youngsters.
Everybody that helps us here, even Ferdy himself, receives something in the sense of understanding, in the sense of feeling a part of developing these children. Not just sustaining them, understand, but developing them. We're not just bringing up these children to be moral, productive citizens, but we hope that it will, like mustard seed, that it will spread.
Ministry is very much saying Mass, hearing confessions, doing the sacraments. 100%. That is very much part of my ministry. But that is not all my ministry. My ministry is doing the things the Lord asked us to do when he said, feed my hungry, clothe my naked. To the least of my brothers, you did this. That, to me, is what we're here for.
Father Jack White is another priest through whom aid from Food for the Poor flows. Father Jack is the pastor of St. Richard's Church, a parish which, as he describes it, is as poor as any in Kingston. Black Ants Lane is a part of his parish. Close to 2,500 people live on this narrow street, with up to 10 people housed in single 15 by 20-foot metal shanties. In meeting the immediate basic needs of these people, Father Jack and those, like Ferdy, who work with him, must avoid creating another, more profound problem.
It's the fact that we have found over the years that by the giveaway, we get into a whole loss of self-respect thing, and I don't think that's right for anybody. I think, first of all, we have to do everything to establish their self-respect and establish the fact that we're trying to help, not to smother them. And I think that's an important thing. We have a food project on Saturday mornings where we buy food and then sell it at less than cost to help the poor in the area. It does two things. It gets food into them, which is, A, very important. The second point, which I think that we need to realize, is that if we constantly just give it, it takes away their self-respect. We sell it below cost. It's cheaper than any place they can buy it. It establishes the fact that, one, self-respect, they paid for them. It isn't just a dole. But on the other hand, it's far below they can buy anything anywhere else.
It's hard to imagine that places like Black Ants Lane exist, that people in the bush can barely put a daily meal together, that children are abandoned on the street, or that infants are left on the doorsteps of institutions like Eventide, never to be bounced on a knee or embraced by a caring parent. That's where another aspect of Ferdy's ministry comes into play. He frequently accompanies church representatives to Jamaica in order to raise their consciousness of the plight of the poor in this and other third world countries. And by his own example, he acknowledges our capacity, our responsibility to reach out to the needy.
You know, we have made it a world of countries and first world and second world and third world and the fourth world. But in God's eyes, we're all one people. We have created Americans and Jamaicans and the Caribbean and Latin America and the church here and the church there. There is only one church, and there is only one world. And we have to stretch out our arms from this country that is a blessed part of the world to the other parts who have not been blessed the way this country has been blessed. And he has admonished us to do this. He says in the final analysis, it is what you do to these least little ones that is important to my Father.
Theologian Thierry Mertens wrote, "The Christian confronted by a starving man knows what is required of him. But before the problem of hunger on a planetary scale, on highways that are remote, far removed from the limited horizons of his daily experience, he stands bewildered. Our most frequent failing is one of imagination. the inability to realize the full potential of collective Christian charity. Consider what could be accomplished if we, each of us, adopted the vivid imagination of Ferdy Mahfood.
Hi, I'm Liz Andre, and this week on Arts Review, we'll look at one of the summer's more enjoyable surprises, The World According to Garp. Based on the bestseller by John Irving, The World According to Garp is a mixture of the commonplace and the bizarre, a world where rules are made to be broken, but the rules that are broken are society's rules. The rules that are important are the ones we live our lives by. Actor Robin Williams portrays T.S. Garp, the illegitimate son of Jenny Fields, a World War II nurse who wanted a child without the bother of a husband. So she chose one of her patients, a dying soldier, as the father of her baby. You'll find the movie is filled with unusual, bizarre events such as this, but that is the world of Garp. The World According to Garp is a crazy world that has just enough reality in it to make Garp believable. Garp's mother is played by actress Glenn Close and presented as one of the country's first radical feminists who writes a tremendously popular protest book. Garp is a struggling artistic writer who finds himself in exasperating competition with his mother. He's portrayed as a funny, rather strange character, what you might expect from actor Robin Williams, but he's more restrained than what you see in the TV comedy Mork and Mindy. Like Mork, though, T.S. Garp is a gentle individual with a warm affection for his wife, played by Mary Beth Hurt, and his two children. Tragedy and infidelity throw the marriage on the rocks, but the film ultimately is an affirmation of family and life itself. You'll find the film is different from the biting satires of Joseph Heller's Catch-22 or Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five, which make fun of the senseless devotion of following rules. Rather, you'll sense a strong undercurrent of sensitivity and hope in this picture, and a feeling that the rules we make for ourselves make more sense than the ones that are made for us by others.
Howdy do. Hello again. Hope I'm not disturbing you running up and down here.
Nope.
It's distracting, isn't it?
Not to me, it's not.
What do you weigh? About 112 or so?
113.
Oh, pleased to meet you. 158 on the way to 147. Sorry about that. My name is T.S. Garp.
What's TS stand for?
Terribly sexy. I used to be terribly shy, but I changed.
I'm Helen Holmes.
Oh, home sweet home. Our new wrestling coach is named Home. Boy, what a hard ass. We call him Home Sweat Home.
He's my father. I'm his daughter. We're the home team.
Oh. Take care.
Sexual scenes in this motion picture are filmed discreetly. However, they may still be offensive to some people, and there is some nudity. Overall, The World According to Garp is just too mature for preteens, and cautious parental consideration prior to teenage viewing is strongly recommended as well. I'm Liz Andre, and that's this week's Arts Review.
For the past 10 years, Charlie DeLeo has worked at the Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor. He is the only person permitted to climb the ladder that leads to Liberty's torch. That small balcony has become a special place for him.
I started writing poems just by inspiration. Going up to the torch, I'd get a few lines here and there, and when I would go home at night, I remember these lines, and then I'd work in it at home. And when I realized that I had some ability to make poems rhyme, I realized that I had a talent, and I didn't know where it came from in the beginning, but it's a God-given talent, and it glorifies my Creator.
His poems are actually prayers. One of his favorites is called A Prayer for Liberty.
Dear God, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, which is thanks. Next only to the cross that your divine Son did bear for the sins of all mankind and my country's flag, no symbol means more to me than the Statue of Liberty. Men have made out of copper, iron, and steel, but you, dear God, have given her an immortal soul of own. To me, dear Father, she's real, and I love her as much as I loved my own dear mother while she was with me in this world. I fail for Miss Liberty and worry for her safety. Oh God, from the time of your good servant Abraham and up to our present troubled days, thy children everywhere have fought and died for liberty. And I truly know, Father, that if there be the one time when men should take up arms against their brothers, it should be for the cause of liberty. For did not the ancients of Israel say, "'Tis better to die as a free man than to live as a slave"? Oh God, thank you so much for hearing my prayer. And even more, oh Lord, thank you for the lady with the body of iron and the soul of fire.
What happens when several hundred motorcyclists get together? Well, believe it or not, in Attleboro, Massachusetts, the answer would be an outbreak of peace.
There's an annual event in Attleboro, Massachusetts that brings together over 2,000 motorcyclists. They travel from all over New England: Hell's Angels, the Saints, the Jimmy Deans, or rebels from so-called normal society. On approximately 45 acres of reclaimed and developed marshland, the La Salette Shrine stands as a sanctuary of Christian commitment and responsibility. The director of the shrine is Father Andre Pateneau, or better known as Father Pat.
The grounds here are very conducive to prayer and to relaxation. I think a lot of people who come seek that, away from the big cities, away from congested areas, want to come to a little place like this to be able to be alone with their thoughts. So the grounds are geared to that.
But what does prayer and relaxation have to do with motorcyclists?
one good way for everybody to get together. Everybody meet each other, have a good time.
There's all types of people who ride bikes today. There's clubs, there's individuals, there's priests, there's lawyers, doctors, accountants. There's all types of people riding today. There's no set group.
Bikers are just people like everyone else. Some are different, some are different. Some are crazy, some ain't.
I think most of the people that gather on a day like this know the place they're coming to. They know they're going to La Salette, and this place is known for being a place of prayer and a very peaceful area to come to. Most of the people come to be blessed. That's what it comes down to. Some look for this particular protection at the beginning of the season of riding. Some just want to be free from harm and just want that particular special protection from God, and they look for it.
Everybody has their own beliefs. They figure they act wild or they are wild and crazy, but deep down inside they believe that they could be blessed by God, I guess.
Safety reasons in my own, so I feel it's the thing to do.
The Motorcycle Safety Foundation states that in 1980 there were over 177,000 accidents and approximately 5,100 fatalities. But whatever the reason, whether for protection from becoming a statistic or because of tradition, thousands of riders make their annual pilgrimage to La Salette Shrine for Father Pat's blessing of the motorcycles.
And I don't want to tickle. I'd rather ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want to die. Just want to ride on the motorcycle.
The community in the area is certainly sometimes shocked by the noise that a day like this brings about. A lot of people ask us why we have this motorcyclist blessing, especially the way they look. They seem to carry along with them a bad image, and that's not necessarily true. Like anything that we wear, we shouldn't judge anybody by the exterior, and somehow ostracize these people because of what they look like. I think what's more important is what is happening within.
This is the start of our riding season, and it's our way of asking the Lord for a safe ride, safe year to watch us throughout the year.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you who have come from near and far to join us in this ride for peace. As we gather to ask our Heavenly Father to bless us at the outset of this new season of motorcycle riding, we'd like to pause to thank Him for the free and open roads that our country so proudly boasts of. Yet at this very moment, the threat of nuclear war instills in our youth a sense of fear and sullens any future prospects of a world living in peace and harmony. Our firm hope is that when all of us leave these grounds, we'll all be able to share and witness the peace that is needed in our world. And so, let us pray.
Yeah, the major reason for gathering today for this Ride for Peace was to pray for peace, and pray for nuclear disarmament, pray for a deeper understanding for the need to help the poor. For some of them, it's probably one of their only times throughout the year that they might pray or be at a place of prayer and worship.
As the bikers file through for their blessing, they also receive a prayer card with a purple ribbon to remind them of the dangers of nuclear war and to join in the ongoing fight for disarmament.
I try to put myself into the shoes of Jesus, and I think He would have invited all of these people to come to Him in some way. And I was just kind of happy to see that they responded with a smile, with the theme of peace, and And with the talk about nuclear war and disarmament, I think there was just a beautiful attitude, and it was just good to be out there with these people. Well, certainly in a crowd this size, it's certainly difficult to keep everything very peaceful, and there was, I'm sure, a little bit of racing here and there. I guess it takes some time before the message is fully heard that this is a sacred or a holy place, and that they should perhaps be more quiet. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with some of the activity that was going on, but with a number of people this size, it's quite difficult to control.
Although it is those few disrespectful bikers that give the rest a bad reputation, Father Pat hopes that through the blessing of the motorcycles, the image of the wild and reckless biker will change.
It's amazing what type of person comes to this motorcycle blessing and to this ride for peace that we call this year. There are all types of people from all types of backgrounds. I'm sure not only necessarily Catholic as well. Most of them, to be honest with you, to me today, I don't know why it was the attitude I was in, but seemed gentle and kind. Not necessarily the image that you have from a distance when you're driving by some cyclist dressed in black.
It seems that not only are the bikers getting the blessing for which they came, but also through their donations they will help others in need in the world. And leaving La Salette with their prayer cards and purple ribbons, they've also been asked to be peacemakers, a completely different image from what society currently perceives.
You know, Monsignor, not everybody looked like a peace-loving person.
No, Sean, but they were all there in the spirit of peace. As we saw about Jamaica, you cannot judge a book by its cover. We should be very careful and take the time to look beyond the cover of things, and especially people.
Next week on Reel to Reel, we will meet some clergymen from our area who work in unusual chaplaincies.
And in Rhode Island, we'll meet a blind man who you'll see is not really handicapped.
In the short subjects, Father Walt Nolan will discuss the work of Vatican II in our Do You Know segment. And in People and Places, we'll meet a priest who once played trombone in the Duke Ellington Band.
We look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye and God bless you.
Good night.
Garp sings a big bang.